Okay, we'll start. Others may join in due course. Uh, See, this is our sixth Zoom session, in which we will be starting the chapter of empiricism. We have till now completed Plato, Aristotle, and then chapter on rationalism, that is Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz. In next 2 weeks, that is this session and next session, we will be completing uh, empiricism, which consists of three philosophers again, Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. Locke we will finish today, Berkeley and Hume next week. After that, in Western philosophy, we will be taking up Kant and Hegel in another 2 weeks, and thereafter we will start Indian philosophy. But before we start Locke and empiricism, as usual, we will take up the model answer for the last week's question. Last week, we completed rationalism, and accordingly, a question was there for attempting. Some students have attempted. They have been communicated separately. So we will discuss the model answer for that. Before we come to the model answer, let us see what was the question for the last week, which was given. Last week, this was the question: whose account of mind and body problem among rationalists is consistent with human freedom and free will? It was requested to write the answer in 400 words so that uh, the answer can be modulated for 10 marks as well as 15 and 20 marks as and when it comes in the real exam. Now, before I come to actual model answer, once again, I just want to repeat, because earlier weeks also, once or twice I have repeated it. Uh, what are the guidelines for writing good answers or model answers? So if we see, uh, for writing good answer in UPSC, first point is you have to keep in mind the number of words in which the question has to be answered, because then only you can decide what will be the structure of the question. Introduction, main body, and conclusion, etc. Depending on the number of words. If it is a long question of 20 marks, you can write at least 2-3 lines for introduction. If it is short question, maybe one line itself may be sufficient for introduction. Then, structuring has to be done on the spot depending on the size of the answer you are attempting. My suggestion will be, while writing model answers, if you are practicing for 10 marks, you can write for about 150 words, 150 to 250 words. 15 marks question, you can practice for 225 to 350 words. 20 marks, 300 to 500 words. But again, I have a suggestion that model answer should be flexible enough to be adopted for different word limits in actual examination, because that we have to keep in mind whenever we practice. Then next is how we'll organize the question. There can be different paragraphs for different ideas, definitely. Then bullet points, then uh, headings, subheadings, etc. also can be there depending on the, again, number of words. If it is only 150 word question, if it is only required or extremely required, then only there should be headings or subheading. Otherwise, you can simply change the paragraph and write the answer. My another suggestion, which I keep on repeating, is you have to adopt a multi-dimensional approach. If you are writing a question of Western philosophy, and if there is a comparison which can be done with Indian philosophy, you have to do that. Because, and similarly, vice versa. If you're writing an answer for Indian philosophy, if there is a comparable philosopher or comparable thought or idea in Western philosophy, that also you need to compare. Then again, I keep on stressing modern scientific and technological developments, how they relate with that philosophical idea or that thinker's idea, that also needs to be mentioned if the question demands so. Uh, then critical evaluation, because criticism, whatever idea, whatever philosopher has given that idea, you have to write that, whatever answer you are writing. And then how others, subsequent philosophers or contemporary philosophers have criticized that idea or given a better explanation for that. All those things also you need to write. This is a very must kind of thing, because in every question there has to be some critical evaluation paragraph. If it is a longer question, you can write a heading, and you can write also, if in smaller question, at least one paragraph you can write, which can be second last paragraph or so. Then I have already told, it has to, I mean, idea has to flow from one paragraph to other. It has to be neatly linked paragraph. It has to be well structured. Use of headings, subheadings, bullet points, etc. depends on number of words. But definitely you need to underline or highlight, because sometimes using different colors or things may not be possible, because you are stretched for time. But definitely with the same pen or same ink, you can definitely underline the important phrases, important words, important terms of the philosophy, or whichever you are using in that answer, just to attract the attention of the examiner. So this is also very, very important. Uh, I keep on repeating, use of technical terms and keywords is very, very important. This is because, see, this only will demonstrate that you have a good understanding of the concept. So please do use that. I keep on telling you should go through, or you should at least have one very good dictionary of philosophy with you, just to understand the terms. Last week also I told that I am also going to come up with very short videos of 10 minutes each, maybe for about 100 to 120 philosophical terms, you being used in Western philosophy, Indian philosophy, and philosophy of religion, and socio-political philosophy also. So that also may be seen, and that also will be quite useful to the students. But using the terms, so first you have to understand, and then in actual exam you have to use the technical terms and philosophical terms and keywords. So this is very important. Then similarly, philosophers' names and quotations, references also. Suppose some philosopher has criticized some earlier philosopher, who is that person and what he has said. That also needs to be written clearly, because this will show that you have gone through the subject or topic in detail. So therefore, this is quite important as far as the good answers are concerned. Uh, you have to maintain a balanced approach. This also I keep on repeating. Don't include your personal ideas in writing answers, because see, definitely some philosopher might have given some idea which you may not like or which you may like. So uh, you have to find out what are the positive points in that, what are negative points in that, and then accordingly you have to write. So basically, you have to follow a balanced kind of approach. You cannot simply impose your own personal views in the answer, because that may be quite risky as far as the examiner's marking, etc., is concerned. So maintain a balanced approach is very, very important. You have to discuss the strengths, weaknesses of the idea, and also critically evaluate that. And then accordingly, you have to conclude your answer. So these are the basic guidelines which I follow, and I request the students to follow while writing the model answers. Now we'll come to actual model answer, which I have attempted for the last week's question. Question was, whose account of mind and body problem among rationalists is consistent with human freedom and free will? Already you may be knowing, both Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz, they have attempted to resolve this mind and body problem in different ways. So what we in the answering, what we need to do is, basically first we will tell what Descartes has done, what Spinoza has done, what Leibniz has done, and then of their views, what are its implications are human freedom and free will. So this also we need to explain. And then finally, we will find out whose explanation is consistent with human, or whose explanation is more supportive to human freedom and free will. So this is basically the answer. This can be, I mean, what I have written about 400 to 450 words, 500 words. But I mean, the crux of the idea can be written in 150 words also if a 10 marks question comes. The structuring will be first here, if you see, a very simple introduction kind of thing has been given. That mind and problem, what is the mind body problem, and how these three philosophers have tries to address in rationalist theory. And then Descartes, what Descartes has proposed. Descartes has proposed dualism, mind and body, and then he says that there is a pineal gland which through which mind and body interacts with each other. So basically, according to him, they are distinct substances. Mind is a non-physical entity, body is a physical material entity, and these two substances interact with pineal gland. Now, what are its implications for free will? Because this is what he has explained, but then what are its implications for the free will? See, Descartes, in a way, supports free will to some extent, definitely, because he says that mind operates independently of physical determinism. However, in his approach, there is a problem of interaction, because the pineal gland, etc., is not at all supported by modern science also, and modern philosophers also have very severely criticized this his interaction theory through pineal gland. Uh, so, if we see, to some extent, if it is mechanical interaction, to some extent the choices are determined also. So accordingly, the criticism point also we need to mention, because what are the negative points in Descartes' theory? Definitely, the main biggest problem in Descartes' theory is how these two, being totally different, interact with each other. Uh, so this was, I mean, Spinoza tries to resolve this problem in his theory. Spinoza has given a theory of monism, and he tells that mind and body are two attributes of the same substance. Substance he identifies with God or nature. So for Spinoza, God is nature, nature is God, and the two attributes, mind and body, are only two attributes which humans can know. So then he says that human actions, like everything in nature, follow deterministic laws. He says that everything is determined. So for Spinoza, definitely free will is a big problem. This we have discussed earlier also in while studying Spinoza, because he feels that everything everything happening as per the natural necessity, and from God point of view only freedom is there. From human perspective, definitely it's not free will in real sense. Then what are the criticism points about the Spinoza? This also they need to understand. Spinoza promotes or proposes strict determinism. Definitely that is incompatible with free will, incompatible with moral responsibility. His view on freedom as a rational necessity is more a redefinition than a defense of free will. So basically, his theory is, I mean, if you compare with Descartes' theory, his theory is more against free will than compared to Descartes. Now, what Leibniz has done? Leibniz has given another theory of monads. I mean, we have already read that he has given a theory of pre-established harmony and monads, theory of monads, windowless monads. He proposes that universe consists of three kinds of monads, uh, and God being the highest kind of monad. Then again, he says that mind and body do not interact but follow parallel courses preordained by God. Just like he has given the example of watch and watchmaker. God is watchmaker. There are two clocks which are, tuned with each other, and they show exactly same time. So this is what Leibniz theory was. So mental and physical states are synchronized without direct causal influence. This is what he has told in his pre-established harmony. Now, what are its implications on free will, free will or freedom? Leibniz preserves a form of freedom, arguing that human actions are rationally determined rather than casually determined. He distinguishes between necessity and contingency. Freedom means choosing the best possible action in harmony with reason. So basically, if we see his theory also, his theory is little better than Spinoza as far as freedom is concerned. But definitely, if we see, it's still it is not as free or as this thing is as compared to Descartes. So if all actions unflowed through pre-established harmony, this is a critical evaluation, criticism of the uh, uh, Leibniz. If all actions unflowed through pre-established harmony, can humans really be free? Because this is again a very big question, because he has given a theory of pre-established harmony. If everything is already pre-established, how a human being can be really free? Uh, so his concept of freedom as rational necessity seems to be deterministic rather than really free. So this is again this thing as far as Leibniz is concerned. So now the conclusion of the question, which view best supports the free will? So if we see, Descartes' dualism best aligns with libertarian free will, though it struggles with interaction problems. Spinoza's monism eliminates the interaction issue, but at the cost of denying the free will. Leibniz pre-established harmony offers a compromise, but still leans towards determinism. So this is actual conclusion if we see. So ultimately, among these, Descartes' accounts remains the most consistent with human freedom, though there are some problems, but out of the three, out of the rationalist philosophy, Descartes' view is more consistent with human freedom compared to uh, uh, Leibniz and Spinoza as far as mind-body interaction is concerned. So this is what we come up with the uh, conclusion and then answer. This completes our answer. Now, I told you that, while giving the instructions for writing answers. See, in some questions, comparison with uh, Indian philosophy may not be possible, and vice versa. If you're writing the answer for Indian philosophy, the comparison with Western philosophy may not be possible. So here also it's same. However, if you want to mention, for example, Sankhya in Indian philosophy has also given the concept of Prakriti and Purusha. So that also to some extent you can mention. But then this question is basically a very pointed question. Whose account is more consistent with free will or freedom. So therefore, I have not written all those things. So writing unnecessarily or writing in excess of what is asked sometimes also becomes counterproductive. So that also all of you should keep in mind, because we have to be very, very balanced in our approach, and we should try to focus in writing or answering what is actually asked rather than uh, replying everything which we know. So by this, with this, we complete this uh, model answer thing of the last week. And now we'll come up the new chapter, as I told in the beginning. We are starting the chapter of empiricism today. And empiricism consists of three philosophers, Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. We will be completing Locke today, and then Berkeley and Hume next week. And as it happens every week, in the end of the Locke's presentation and Locke's discussion, we will have a question to be attempted, and the model answer will be giving next week. So now let us start after this model answer thing. Let us start the chapter of Locke. But before we start, again, because again, I keep on telling that our study or presentation or discussion should be very focused one. So again, I will try to first tell you what is there in syllabus as far as empiricism or Locke is concerned. See, if you see here in empiricism, Locke, Berkeley, and Hume, then theory of knowledge, substance, qualities, self and God, skepticism. So these are the topics which we have to study as far as empiricism is concerned, as the syllabus of philosophy, UPSC optional, philosophy optional tells us. Now, what are previous year's questions? How previous year's questions have come? This also, I keep on telling you, we should definitely, before we study that topic, we should know actually what is being asked in the exam. So, topic-wise analysis of the previous 12 years questions I have done. I request all the students also to do that. And so let us see what is being asked in empiricism. See, this is same thing. Whatever is in the syllabus has been written. Then different. I mean, all the three philosophers. What are the different questions have been asked pertaining to Locke? Let us see what has been asked. One question is critically examine John Locke's categorization of primary and secondary qualities and explain the problem it posed for later empiricists. So now 3 years it has been asked, 2012, 2016, 2017. So 3 times this was asked. Then next is rejection of Locke's primary qualities, reason for Berkeley's leaning towards idealism. How Berkeley's subjective idealism different from Hegel's absolute idealism. This is partly Berkeley or mainly Berkeley, because Locke is only in the beginning, some paragraph, one paragraph you have to write. Now, then next is John Locke said that no man's knowledge can go beyond his experience. Discuss critically the implications in this statement. Then again, Locke's refutation of innate ideas, nature and source of knowledge in Locke's epistemology. So again, this has been asked in almost 3 years or 2 years, 2012, 2022. Then again, if we see concept of personal identity of Locke, this again, it has been asked in 2021. So after going through the syllabus as well as this previous year's question, what can be the important topics which we should study about Locke? So let us see that first. See, in Locke, I have identified 3 topics. First is John Locke's categorization of primary and secondary qualities. Second is the statement of the Locke himself, no man's knowledge can go beyond his experience. And Locke's theory of perception, both are same, or Locke's epistemology. So all this means same thing only. Then third thing is Locke an inconsistent empiricist. So these three in detail we will study. So first we will understand what is the basic philosophy of Locke, and then we will try to study these 3 topics in detail. Then Berkeley es est percipi, that is to believed is to be. So this is statement from Berkeley, and usually this includes his whole philosophy basically. So this we will focus. Hume and other 3, but Hume and Berkeley we will try to discuss in detail next week. So next week again we will go through the syllabus and questions, etc. So in Locke, these 3 topics we are discussing in detail. Then besides the basic philosophy of Locke. So now let us start the discussion on Locke. See, empiricism is directly opposite of rationalism. What rationalism says, ideas are innate, ideas are in mind, and everything depends on that. Empiricism says, no, the things are gained or knowledge is gained through experience. Mind is blank slate. What Locke has, written also, tabula rasa. Tabula rasa means blank state, blank slate. Mind is blank slate at birth, and all knowledge comes through experience. So this is the main, and this is his book, an essay concerning human understanding. He was a British empiricist philosopher. He basically said that all knowledge is derived from experience, and this is primary theory or basic theory of all empiricists, whether it is Locke, whether it is Berkeley, or whether it is Hume. Again, empiricism starts from Locke and it culminates with David Hume. So this also we should keep in mind. So what are his basic ideas, basic philosophy of Locke? Let us understand that. Now, first is his empiricism and rejection of innate ideas. If we see, The what are the innate ideas? I mean, we know, I mean, rationalists propose that innate ideas are there in the mind and knowledge is developed or generated from them. What Locke and his empiricism says, no, all knowledge comes from experience. So this is the, again, I mean, directly contrasting what rationalist theory says. Even I mean, rationalism says, as we know, that not, certain ideas, for example, morality, logic, existence of God are inherent in mind from birth. But Locke has refuted this. And what are the arguments he has given for refutation? If we see, he says Locke has said lack of universal agreement. He says that there is a lack of universal agreement among various ideas. But for example, morality is not different in all cultures. Uh, Similarly, idea of God is also not common in all with all human beings. Some are atheists, some are theists, depending on their own religion or philosophy or own thinking. Then knowledge comes from through experience. This is he says that even complex concepts like mathematics and morality emerge through learning and experience rather than being pre-programmed in mind. Then he again, because rationalist says that ideas are innate and knowledge is already present in the mind, which develops as human being grows. So Locke says that unconscious ideas are contradictory. He rationalists argued that innate ideas exist unconsciously in mind. Locke says no. If something is unconscious, it means that there is no knowledge as far as that is concerned. So basically, Locke has given a statement. This statement, if you remember, while discussing with Leibniz, we have already read this statement. There is nothing in the intellect which was not previously in the senses. This is the statement of Locke. Sometimes this statement's elaboration or discussion on this also comes, but this also means same thing what empiricist theory means, that every knowledge or all knowledge comes through experience. So if something is asked to explain this or critically examine this, then also almost similar things have to be discussed. So Locke says that knowledge originates from two sources. One is sensation, another is reflection. Now, what is sensation? Sensation is perception of external objects through senses, whether it is touch, whether it is smell, whether it is taste or sound, etc. So this is sensation. What is reflection? Awareness of mental process, because the knowledge, I mean, whatever sensation we get, again, thinking, doubting, reasoning, etc. This is reflection. So this is a mental process, but this in itself is not knowledge. For this reflection, sensation is required. So this is what Locke's theory is. Through these processes, Locke explains how humans acquire all their ideas. Now, this is basically refutation of innate ideas and his empiricism. Now, what is his theory of knowledge? Let us understand that. Locke has given the theory that there are two kinds of ideas, simple ideas and complex ideas. Now, simple ideas are again, I mean, they are basic ideas, but they are again four types of ideas. So if we see what are the simple ideas, from a single sense, something derived from a single sense, for example, color, sound, hearing, etc. Then second is from multiple senses, for example, space, motion, extension, etc. Then reflection, thinking, doubting, willing. Then from both sensation and reflection, that is pleasure, pain, and unity. So these four kinds of ideas are simple ideas in Locke's view. Now, what are the complex ideas? He says, formed by the mind's active processing. So he says that simple ideas are first obtained, and then mind actively combines the simple ideas to form the complex ideas. Then again, complex ideas are also of three categories as far as Locke is concerned. First is modes, second is substances, third is relations. Examples are also there. For example, modes, beauty, numbers, justice, etc. Substance, objects, people, God. Relation, cause and effect, similarity, dissimilarity, etc. So Locke's empirical approach insists that knowledge progresses from specific observation to general principles, from simple to complex, and it starts from experience only. There is, mind does not have knowledge. Everything comes from experience. Now, what are the types of knowledge as far as Descartes is, as far as Locke is concerned? Then again, he has classified knowledge into three levels based on their degree of certainty. If you see, one is intuitive knowledge, then demonstrative knowledge, then sensitive knowledge. So basically, uh, intuitive knowledge is immediate and self-evident, requiring no proof. Demonstrative knowledge requires reasoning and proof. Sensitive knowledge is based on sensory perception of external objects. Locke acknowledges that only intuitive and demonstrative knowledge can be absolutely certain, whereas sensitive knowledge is always somewhat uncertain due to limitations of perception. Now, another question, this question also we have seen while seeing the previous year's question, primary and secondary qualities. Locke has given another theory that, he basically distinguishes between two kinds of qualities of objects. One is primary, another is secondary. The primary quality, what he says is, exists in the object itself, independent of the observer. Measurable and objective examples are solidity, motion, number, shape. What are secondary qualities for him? Secondary qualities exist only in perception, depend on the observer, subjective and variable. For example, color, taste, sound, smell, etc. So this is what he has given as far as the qualities of the objects are concerned, this theory. Now, this distinction, basically brings us to Locke's representational theory of perception. So, which states that our ideas' primary qualities resemble reality, whereas ideas of secondary qualities do not directly reflect the external world. So, basically, representative theory of perception he has advocated. Now, substance and perception. On that, what Locke has said, let us understand that. Locke accepts that the existence of material and spiritual substance, but he says that uh, we can never directly perceive them. He defines three types of substances: material substance, spiritual substance, and God. Physical objects that support material primary qualities are material substances. Spiritual substance, mind, soul, etc., and God being supreme. So even though he believes in empiricism, but he says that, he believes in God. God is a supreme being whose existence Locke believes can be demonstrated only through reason and not through perceptions. So Locke's correspondence theory of truth states that knowledge is valid if it corresponds to reality. So what are its criticism? We have seen the Locke's theory has a lot of loopholes also, a lot of gaps also. And because of that, also sometimes he is called inconsistent empiricist. So that also we will see subsequent uh, topics which we are studying today. But what are main criticism and how was his influence? See, criticism, his own successors, Berkeley and Hume were the successors in empiricism. They themselves have criticized Locke's theory. For example, Berkeley rejected Locke's differentiation of primary, secondary qualities, arguing that all qualities exist only in mind. So Berkeley says that there is nothing existing in the object, everything exists in the mind itself. So this is Berkeley's criticism. David Hume, uh, he, uh, he was a culmination, basically his philosophy was a culmination of empiricism. He's denied the existence of a self or causality itself, and because it's beyond perception. So his empiricism culminates in a way in skepticism. So that also we'll be studying while but he has criticized Locke. The modern psychology also challenges Locke's view of the mind as a passive receiver of ideas, showing that perception is an active process. So modern psychology also does not support what Locke has advocated. What is its influence? Locke's philosophy has, definitely he was one of the greatest philosophers. He not only, if some of you have already studied political science or public administration, there also Locke's theory are basically studied. He has a great influence on psychology and political thought also. So his ideas have uh, uh, actually democracy, on political thought, rights, etc., natural rights. So in political science also, Locke's philosophy is very, very important. Besides philosophy itself, because he has given a basis for the empiricism. So empiricism, psychology, and political thought, in all the three sectors, he has a great influence. Now, as I told, three topics or two topics mainly, we will try to study in detail, because these are the questions which are coming repeatedly. In one question has come three times, another question has come two times. So we'll try to study in detail, just to understand further intricacies of these topics. And uh, see, John Locke's categorization of primary and secondary qualities. This three times it has come in different formats. So basically, as we have already read in very brief, he distinguishes between primary and secondary qualities uh, in an object. So he is I mean, this he has given in detail in his book Essay Concerning Human Understanding. Uh, he has taken the ideas from Galileo, Descartes. Uh, so basically, their framework he has further tried to develop. Uh, as we have already studied, differentiates between two kinds of qualities uh, of the objects. He says that whether they are intrinsic to objects or dependent on perception. So, if the qualities are intrinsic to objects, they are primary qualities. If they are dependent on perception, they are secondary qualities. So, primary qualities, objective and inherent properties in the objects. So, every object will have primary qualities. So, they include, what are those qualities? Solidity, extension, motion, figure, number, etc. And these are independent of any observer, because these are possessed by that material or that object itself. So this is what primary qualities he means. Secondary qualities depends on sensory perception, and this depends on each perceiver, that is each human being or each person who is perceiving that quality. So color, taste, smell, sound, temperature also are the example. So Locke claims that secondary qualities do not exist in objects themselves, but are mental constructs caused by the interaction of primary qualities with human perception. So this is what differentiation between primary and secondary qualities. In tabular form, if we see the same primary and secondary qualities, because sometimes this is also very useful thing, because if differentiation comes, or if you write in tabular form, and if you have a scope, number of words permit that, this also influences the examiners very well. So primary qualities exist independently of perception. Secondary qualities exist only through perception. Primary qualities are inseparable from the object. Secondary qualities are dependent on the observer. Primary qualities do not change based on experience. Secondary qualities can vary from person to person. Primary quality provide objective knowledge. Secondary qualities provide subjective knowledge. So these are the differentiations between the two. Similarly, examples, primary qualities are measurable, that is size, weight, motion, etc. Secondary qualities are not measurable, for example, taste, color, etc. Primary qualities can exist without secondary qualities, but secondary qualities cannot exist without primary qualities. So this is basically difference between the two as far as Locke is concerned. Now, what are its criticisms from various philosophers? Definitely, this is not very foolproof theory, or a theory which is very, very consistent. So a lot of criticism has been done, not only from Western, but comparable Indian traditions also have criticized such kind of theory. Uh, what Leibniz says, Leibniz argued that even primary qualities are relative to perception. He suggested that size, shape, and motion depend on observer's frame of reference. So his criticism is that not only secondary but even primary qualities depend on observer. So Locke saying that primary qualities are independent of observer is not true as far as Leibniz is concerned. What Berkeley says that all perceived qualities are mental constructs. So there is nothing available in the object. So whether it is primary quality or secondary quality, all exist in the mental frame or in the perceiver only. So all depends on perceiver. And he says to exist is to be perceived. So this is his famous quote, S este percipi, that is, to exist is to be perceived. This is what Berkeley has told. What Hume says, perception as a bundle of impressions. This is Hume's statement. Hume says that all, even primary qualities are just clusters of impression. He argued that we do not perceive intrinsic primary qualities directly. Rather, we only perceive bundles of sensory data, making the distinction between primary and secondary quality less meaningful. So he also says that you need not differentiate, and differentiation by the Locke is not correct. What Kant has says, both qualities are subjective. That is, primary as well as secondary qualities, both are subjective. So this is, now what are the comparisons with Indian philosophy? Nyaya Vaisesik, they believe in realism and categorization of qualities. They present a system somewhere similar to Locke's distinction. For example, they say that there is a dravya, that is substance, that is equal to Locke's primary qualities, which is dravya is independent reality, exists regardless of perception. Then there are gunas, that is qualities. These include inherent and perceptual properties. So there again, primary and secondary qualities kind of differentiation Nyaya Vaisesik has come up with. So this is comparable theory in Indian philosophy, we can say. So gunas, then samvaya, that is inherence. This doctrine explains how quality exists in substances. So again, mirroring Locke's argument that primary qualities are inseparable from objects. So basically, Nyaya Vaisesik theory is, comparable with Locke, not 100%, but definitely some parts are almost similar or having similar explanation to Locke. However, Vaisesik recognizes that our sensory faculties influence perception. So Vaisesik is a little different from Nyaya, but definitely both are linked philosophies as far as Indian philosophy is concerned. Now, Advaita Vedanta, the subjectivity of all qualities, they say that all physical world is Maya or illusion, and only Brahma is reality. So basically, they promote subjectivity of all qualities, and they say that there is nothing real. So even primary qualities are dependent on human consciousness. Similarly, Buddhist Vijnanavad, if we see, mind dependence of all qualities. So this is somewhat Berkeley's theory, Berkeley's idealism, that everything is mind. There is nothing inherent in the object. This is what Buddhist Vijnanavad says. They again, Buddhism has promoted the theory of Pratyut Samutpad. This doctrine that all phenomena, including qualities, arise in dependence on perception. And then they have given a theory of Shunyata. So what my take is that Buddhism also, not 100%, but definitely part of it supports Locke's assumptions or Locke's theory. But then definitely most of the Locke's theory is not agreed by Indian philosophical systems. What is modern science? What modern science is saying as far as Locke's propositions are concerned? Quantum mechanics or quantum physics shows that properties like position, momentum, and even existence depend on observation. So this is quantum physics. Wave particle duality suggests that an electron position does not exist independently of measurement, challenging the idea that primary quality exist objectively. So this is again primary qualities may not exist objectively as proposed by Locke. Neuroscience, what neuroscience says, color perception, so that color is not an inherent property of objects, but rather brain's interpretation of different light wavelengths. So this is what regarding color perception, neuroscience says. Then what psychology says, that human mind actively constructs reality, meaning that even primary qualities may be mental constructs. So even the relativity theory or evolutionary biology, particularly Darwin's theory. So if we see, even they also do not support what Locke's view are concerned. So ultimately, what is conclusion? Locke's distinction between primary and secondary qualities though influential, but has a severe criticism from Indian philosophy, Western philosophy, and modern science, because there is no such rigid separation as far as Locke has proposed. Uh, this already we have discussed. So, same thing, because ultimately, even though Locke's ideas are groundbreaking, but modern thought suggests a far more complex relationship between perception and reality than his framework allows, because his framework appears to be very simplistic, very simple as far as if you see modern science, modern neuroscience, or modern even theory of relativity, or evolutionary biology, or even quantum mechanics. And definitely, Indian philosophy and Western philosophy uh, uh, has criticized Locke's distinction between primary and secondary qualities in great detail. Now, what is another second topic related to Locke we will be studying in detail, because this is again a very, very important. But this, if you see the heading itself, is quite long, because different kinds of phrases are used sometimes to ask the same question. For example, if John Locke's empiricism, or theory of knowledge, or no man's knowledge can go beyond his experience, or Locke's theory of perception, or refutation of innate ideas, all this means almost same. So only thing is you have to comprehend it, and then same matter or same content you have to write in a different format. This is what I have tried to show, that not, don't confuse if empiricism is asked, or his statement is given to expand or critically examine, or his theory of perception is being asked, or his theory of Locke's epistemology is asked. So everywhere you have to write almost same content, maybe in little different format. So refutation of innate ideas, we have already seen in previous question also. Here also we will have to repeat the same thing. So I'm not going to in detail, because again, same thing in a little different format. We have written here, like of universal consent. Mathematical truths are also not innate. Then self-evident truths vary by context. Innate ideas cannot exist unconsciously. So all this Locke has given as far as uh, his refutation of innate ideas, the logic or the argument for refuting the innate ideas he has given. So this we should understand is part of his uh, epistemology. First, he is refuting that there is nothing already available in the mind which is called knowledge. Then his theory of knowledge or epistemology, I keep telling, I mean, epistemology means theory of knowledge. Metaphysics means, metaphysics means theory of reality. So if similarly, ontology also means uh, theory of reality, though little different from metaphysics, and but both almost mean same thing. So this we should understand, try to understand. So theory of knowledge or epistemology is rooted in empiricism. This sensation and reflection, this we have already in previous question also we have seen. He says that first uh, sensation through senses, color, sound, texture, etc., is obtained, and then mind applies. Mind basically internal perception. Mind applies some operations such as thinking, believing, doubting, etc., and then some knowledge is created. Then, uh, if we see limitations of knowledge, what is his knowledge is there. Locke acknowledges that human knowledge has limits. Modern science aligns with Locke to some extent, because perception-based knowledge is constrained by observational limits. Similarly, Indian philosophy, Nagarjuna and Madhyamik Buddhism also argued that conceptual knowledge is ultimately limited and subject to dependent origination. What is Locke's theory of perception? Because even though it's interrelated, if we see it's interrelated, but little more explanation in theory of perception needs to be added. Locke proposed a representational theory of perception, arguing that our minds do not directly perceive objects, but rather ideas that represent the object. What is representational theory? That mind is not directly comprehending the objects, but rather mind is comprehending the idea which represent those objects. So this is called representational theory of knowledge. Then again, primary and secondary qualities, he has given two kinds of qualities. This in detail we have seen in previous topic. So same thing has been written here. Then comparison with, to some extent, it supports with Nyaya Vaisesik, so comparison with Indian philosophical systems. And then what is criticism of Locke's empiricism? So this also we should understand. His has faced severe criticism. First is abstract ideas. Uh, Empiricism struggles to explain how purely sensational sensory experience gives rise to abstract concept. In fact, I have already told, Locke also believed in God. Now, if you say that only perception is the knowledge, or only knowledge can be obtained through senses or experience or perception, how God's knowledge comes, or how soul's knowledge comes, or how self knowledge comes. So all these are abstract ideas. So he has been criticized for that. Then belief in substance. Uh, Locke claimed that substance exists in as the substratum of primary qualities, yet he admitted that substance itself is not directly experienced, contradicting his empiricist. So, as we have seen in previous paragraph, his theory, representational theory of knowledge, is basically a contradiction of empiricism itself, because mind is not directly comprehending the object, mind is comprehending the idea which is representing the object. So this again is contradiction as far as empiricism itself is concerned. Then primary and secondary qualities, Berkeley's criticism, already we know. Berkeley says that there is no distinction between primary and secondary. Everything is present in mind only. So there is nothing, no quality exists in any object. Then inconsistency in knowledge classification. Uh, See, Locke has classified knowledge in intuitive, demonstrative, sensitive, but strict empiricism should only recognize sensitive knowledge. So intuitive and demonstrative knowledge, just like first point, if you see, are abstract kind of thing. So if something is intuition or demonstrative, it's not actually sensitive. Sensitive means knowledge obtained from senses. So strict empiricism should only say that knowledge is obtained from senses or sensory knowledge, and then they should recognize with only sensitive. Then mind's passive role in perception. This is again uh, modern psychology criticism suggests that perception requires active mental processing and not passive role. So active mental processing, which supports to some extent rationalism, rationalist philosophy, that mind actually active involves in processing, including attention, memory, categorization, etc. So this is supported by modern psychology. So uh, I mean, basically, this is the criticism as far as Locke's theory of knowledge is concerned. Now, what is its importance? He was a founder of British empiricism, or founder of empiricism itself. Then he was a pioneer in epistemology. Then his influence was in modern psychology as well as political philosophy. I have already told, if somebody is a student of political science, then definitely he might have studied the Locke's uh, theory of natural rights, democracy, and individual liberty. In almost all these topics, he has written and he has advocated various theories. Not only philosophy, not only psychology, he has also influenced political thought also. So this is basically uh, Locke's theory. Next week we will be coming up with Hume and Berkeley and Hume, and we will complete next week the chapter on empiricism. Now, before I end, again the question of the week. So this is question we want to uh, we are putting for attempting by the students. Is Locke an inconsistent empiricist? So basically, I mean, this question again almost covers the whole Locke's philosophy, because what is his empiricism? You have to write. Then how it is inconsistent? What are its critical? I mean, basically, his empiricism you have to explain, and then the critical evaluation of that thing. How Western philosophy has criticized, how Indian philosophy wants to criticize, or how there is a comparison of criticism, and then how modern science, psychology, or modern uh, uh, scientists and philosophers have criticized Locke as far as his empiricism is concerned. So this question again, if somebody is interested, can send me to this mail ID, and we'll evaluate and let him know. And then model answer to this question will be discussed in next Zoom class. So with this, I am now completing. Now, if anybody wants to say anything, otherwise we'll close and meet next week.
Sir, at the starting, like primary properties of, like we have a two, na, primary and secondary. So in the primary, we have a solidity. What is the mean? It is matter state we are talking there.
No,
Solidity.
see, solidity means suppose some solid a table is there. Table is a solid item. So basically, that I mean is the quality of that object. Basically, we are meaning that. What
I mean,
last?
the state of matter like solid, liquid, gas, like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. It's like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that is. Thank you, sir.
But before I close, one more announcement. As I told last week, also last to last week, perhaps. Uh, from June, we will be starting free test series in philosophy for those students who are going to appear in the mains exam of this year. That is 2025 mains, whosoever is attempting. For them, we will be starting, and we will be having several tests offline and online depending on their convenience. If they are located in Delhi, they can come for offline tests also. This will be real exam like tests. And if they are outside Delhi, you can have online testing, and then your answers will be evaluated, model answers will be provided. So all those things we will be doing. So just to help the students that if they are appearing this year's exam, they can get good marks. And our attempt should be that we should definitely get about 300 marks or so, because once you get 300 marks in any subject, optional subject, you are bound to be in the list of the selected candidates. Depending if you have done little average also in one or two papers of GS and others, still you can be in the list. So, and if you have done quite good in others papers also, then definitely you are going to make in top services of the civil services. So, okay, so then we'll, yeah.
So regarding this test series, I mean, we just covered only modern philosophy. So in that test series, we will start like this, or it will be combined both modern and.
नहीं, वो पूरा ही रहेगा, क्योंकि ये देखिए, मैं तो आपको पहले ही बताया था, मैं आई जस्ट वांट टू टेल ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स, सी आई विल बी टेकिंग ओनली अबाउट 35 classes, 35 Zoom sessions, and we'll be covering about 70% of the syllabus, and that too, those syllabus will be covered by October end.
Hmm.
So for those students who are appearing in this year's exam, you definitely cannot wait up to October to complete the whole syllabus. So
Hmm.
uh, you have to study, do self study. You have to study on your own also, and particularly those students who want to appear this year's exam. So this is I mean, what I am doing is additional support or additional help to you, if you can say like that. Definitely you will have to do a lot of self study, and a lot of hard work needs also be done. So our test will be basically first, what we will be doing is sectoral test and then full test. Sectoral test means there are four sectors in the philosophy paper. One is Western philosophy, then Indian philosophy, then philosophy of religion, and socio-political philosophy. So first we will be having sectoral test, and then full paper test also will be there, where paper one and paper two will be there. So like that we will do, but in a test we will be covering full syllabus, and it will be just like real exam test. So
Okay.
this is a practice, and you need not depend on what I am telling, because I will not be able to complete the syllabus by that time. So that, but definitely what I am doing is an additional help to you. That's what my point is.
Okay, sir. Sir, so like before test, we will get the like information which will be sectorial test regarding which will
Yeah,
be
yeah,
top.
you will get the information, the date, time, etc. Everything will be told. So if you are in Delhi, you can attend the physical test also. We will fix some examination hall or somewhere, and we can write. Or if you are outside, then you can write test on your own also, and then send the copies, PDF copies for evaluation, etc. So we'll evaluate, and then we will supply the model answers for those uh, tests, questions, or whatever has been asked in the tests. So this is what we will be doing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, then thank you everybody. We'll meet next week again. Thank you.